All right, welcome back. We are Game 3001 in the summer 2020 semester at George Brown, and it's week 11, part 2 of our broadcast. This morning's class, we talked about goal-oriented behavior and rule-based systems, and also we talked about utility AI. And for the lab, what I really want to focus on is let's think about planning. I'm going to draw it out. I want to plan out kind of a decision structure for our code. So let's think about this for assignment 4, just to help you guys out. And I did this for the group that was with me this morning, or this early afternoon. So let's think about this. So one of the things is for assignment 4, you must have assignment 3 working. All right. So all the stuff that was required in assignment 3 must be in assignment 4 in order for you to do to be marked. Okay. So that means you cannot get a mark for assignment 4 without assignment 3's mandatory requirements being met. Okay. Make sure those are all done. And this way we can make sure that there's no heartache around this. So that's number 1. 2, it talks about things like AI actions, and we've mentioned certain ones: patrol, move to player, close combat, and so on. So all these things, if you think about them as actions, right? All these actions are the leaves of a tree. Remember, actions always come at the bottom. And we have a couple of loadouts. One of them is the close combat enemy, and the other one is the range combat enemy. So those two loadouts is the things that we're looking for. But let's specifically look at just dissecting the close combat enemy and seeing what that looks like in terms of our structure. And we'll start off with an idea of using a tree structure for this as opposed to something else. So we'll use a decision tree, which is the easiest one to start off with, I would say. Okay. So one, if we dissect it, it says I have certain things. Starts as a patrol action. So that's number 1. So we start in patrol, and then what happens is we move out of patrol until we have either line of sight or we're in the detection radius. So that's number 1. So we're in patrol. Do I have line of sight or detection radius? Okay. So the question for you is, which one is more important? Line of sight or detection radius? And my answer to that is probably line of sight is more important. So line of sight would be the first question that I would have, right? So do I have line of sight? Yes, no. If I don't have line of sight, am I within the detection radius? Yes or no. So those are that's kind of a yes or no detection thing. It's a true false, right? The next one is if the player is in their detection radius and they do not have line of sight. So I don't have line of sight, no, but I am in detection radius. So that was after the no, I don't have line of sight. I do have detection radius. Then I want to move to line of sight. That is an action. That's the leaf that I'm going to take, the action I'm going to perform, right? Okay, what if the player has line of sight? So that was yes, I do have line of sight. Then I'm going to move to player. I'm going to move closer to the player, right? Okay, that's what's going to happen. I move close to the player. If I'm close to the player, right, if I have line of sight and I'm close to the player, close combat distance, then do a close combat attack. Cool. And finally, here's something. If my health drops below 25%, I'm going to flee. Whoa, what does this have to do with any of these? Not really anything, right? So this could be probably the first action if you think about it. So one way we could do it is make this one the first action, which makes our tree a little bit imbalanced, or unbalanced. Let's try this first. So the way I would draw this in my mind, thinking about it, this is one way of doing it, is I would start off at the top of the tree and ask my question, which is my health greater than 25%? If my health is greater than 25%, and we're going to do like a true or false kind of thing, right? So this is the first part of the tree, the top of the tree. Is my health greater than 25%? The question would be. And if it's true, we're just going to make some lines, mapping out the tree, drawing it out. So we'll say yes is on this side, and we'll say no is on this side for the tree structure itself. So here's yes. We'll say we just put a Y, and the other side, of course, is going to be no. Okay, so here's the yes side. The yes side will always be the right side, and the no side will always be the left side of the tree. Okay, just to specify how this works. Okay. So health is greater than 25%. Yes. Okay, do something. Otherwise, what? Flee. That is the action. So flee is an action. All right, that's the thing that we're going to do, right? So flee action. And I'm saying this because this is not, you know, a decision. If you think about action being a leaf, this is our first leaf of the tree. Again, right away, it makes our tree unbalanced if we did it this way. But let's just pursue it this way anyway. Next, health is greater than 25%. Okay, the biggest question is, do I have line of sight? So that's the next question I would probably ask. Line of sight? Line of sight, all these question marks. Anytime I have a question mark like this, to me it's a, oops, I don't know what happened there. Let's try that again. If I have line of sight, if it's a question mark that I'm asking, that is a condition. Do I have line of sight? It's really a yes or no question. Yes or no, do I have line of sight? If I do, then again, I'm going to draw the lines, right? So if I do positive, we're going to go towards this direction. If I don't negative, we're going to go towards this direction. I'm going to make this a little bit shorter on this side because we're on the inside. If I do have line of sight, yes. Okay, the next question is, cool, then am I within close combat range? Close combat range, right? So that's the next question I would ask. Am I within close combat range? If I'm not within close combat range, so this is a yes or no again. So this is, again, following what the behavior that we've kind of linked out. So yes, then if we're in close combat range, then do a close combat attack. Close combat attack. Action, right? Because this is a leaf, right? So the leaf, this is the thing that we want to do. In fact, close combat action is a desired result. I want to be able to hit my player all the time, right? If I can do this. If I'm not in range though, then I also have an action that I can do. So let's do that line. So I'm not in range. So I'm going to do an action as well, and that action is going to be move to range. Move to close combat range. All right, and that's also an action. So that's a leaf node. It's going to be something that I'm doing. All right. Again, it's pretty long, but I want to kind of show you what that looks like. Okay, we're going to put the yeses there so you see what those are. So there's a yes on this side, so we're not confused. And I'm kind of following down one path just to show you how I'm thinking. This is my thinking. I'm thinking, well, this is probably how I would lay things out. You might think things differently. There could be another way of drawing this tree. So again, okay, what about, let's go back up. So no, I don't have line of sight. Okay, cool. Am I within detection radius? Let's call it radius. Okay, am I in detection radius? Okay. So I don't have line of sight and I'm not in detection radius. That would be over here. So, but if I do have I'm in detection radius, so, but I don't have line of sight, right? See my thinking? I'm in detection radius, but I don't have line of sight. Then I'm kind of going to do another action up here. So I'm going to make these leaves a little bit shorter, just so I can fit everything in. Then I want to move to line of sight. Action. That's what I want to do, right? So that's what would go here. Move to line of sight. Okay. No, I don't have line of sight, but I do have the player is in my radius. Well, then move to line of sight so I can see them, right? Otherwise, if I don't have line of sight and I'm not on my radius, what do? Patrol. Continue with what I'm doing, right? That's what I do. If I haven't done this already, now there's a problem here. Okay, keep doing what you're doing. As an example, if I've been detected, this is if I've gone to this point. The person was in my radius at one point. I've been detected. This detection radius is like I can't see them right now, but I had them in my sights at one point. Then keep moving to line of sight over and over again. Keep doing this until I get line of sight. Keep doing this until I get line of sight. Okay. Now there's a problem with this tree, but let's just keep going. Okay. So what if I don't have line of sight and I don't have radius? Well, then keep patrolling. So that would be the thing. That's another way I could draw. So this is kind of a way I could see myself. This is also my entry action. But you can see all the actions are at the bottom of the tree, right? Action, 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 right? And let's test this to make sure it's right. So is my health greater than 25%? Yes. Cool. Do I have line of sight? No. Did my player, was my player ever in my detection radius? No. Keep patrolling. Okay, go back up here. Is my health greater than 25%? Yes. Because maybe I got hit. I could get hit, and that's another thing. I've never asked you, well, if the enemy gets hit, then all of a sudden you detect it, the player, right? We never said that. So maybe in a game, we'd say if somehow the player's been detected, either in the radius or in line of sight at one point, right? Then keep moving to line of sight. Keep moving to find line of sight, whatever that is, right? But here we're just saying either one or the other. Okay, so I move to line of sight. Keep moving to line of sight. All right, and let's say, for example, I finally have line of sight. So move to line of sight. Cool. Is my health greater than 25%? I'm moving to line of sight. My health greater than 25%? No. Yes. Do I have line of sight yet? No. How about if the person's been detected? Yes. Keep moving to line of sight. Keep moving to line of sight. And it'll keep doing this loop over and over again. And you would just basically do a little bit of a pause before you check again. Move closer. Cool. I've made it to line of sight. Let's say I made it. I saw the person, right? I have line of sight. Cool. Then am I within close combat range? No. Move to close combat range. Keep doing that. Keep doing that. And then, hey, is my health greater than 25%? Do I still have line of sight? No. I've detected them though, so move back to line of sight. Find my line of sight. So I keep following this pattern over and over again, until I can see them again. Okay, am I in close combat range? No. Move to close combat range. Yes. Attack. 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 Keep attacking. Keep attacking. As long as I'm in close combat range, keep attacking. Keep attacking. Keep attacking. So that's how you could do it. In terms of your if you were going to use the decision tree, it's not balanced. But actually, what you could think about this, you could also break this down as two separate parts, if you think about this. And once I say parts, like states, right? Well, I'm thinking about states. And if you think about this, this is one tree or one state. Either my health is 25%, greater than 25% or not, right? If it's not, flee. If it is, then do this. Okay, here's the next state. And this is more like the search state or the, find the player state, right? So this is more like, the patrol state, as an example. And I'm not fleeing. My health is 25. I'm healthy, right? Or I'm not healthy. I'm not healthy here. I'm healthy here. So, am I healthy? So this is like almost like a state. I'm in healthy state, right? And I'm not healthy state. So here I'm not healthy. Right? I'm checking my health. Here I am healthy. The only way I can do this is if I'm healthy. So this is H plus, and here I'm checking to see if I'm healthy. Right? So this is almost like kind of a state. I'm in healthy state. I'm not healthy. Then flee. Right? So that's one way I could think about it as well. The other way to do it is instead of doing it this way, use a state machine. Right, so, and that's probably the other easy way to do it. I'm not going to talk about behavior yet, behavior tree. Behavior tree is harder to do. But think about a state machine. State machine is a little harder than a decision tree because the setup is different, right? But remember, we have our entry state. So here's our entry state. Just going to go over here and start drawing on this side. So our entry state is just circle, right? And it's a solid circle. And then that is the patrol state. So we start off in patrol state, and there's no transition to get us into patrol state. We're always in patrol state at the beginning. Okay, cool. From patrol state, if I detect the player, that is the transition. So again, what I want to do is I want to draw an arrow, right, from here to the next position. So I have an arrow that I can draw from patrol, right, as an example, to the next state, which is, do I have line of sight? Okay, so that's something I could draw for sure, right? Line of sight or not. So, but that is the detection. If I have line of sight, so this is something that I would draw here. This is let me undo that change for a second. Let me make that line longer so we can actually put the condition. The condition is these are the conditions up here: line of sight, radius, all this stuff, right? Health greater than 25%. So I'm in patrol, as an example. I'm never going to go back to patrol. Once I leave patrol, I'm out, right? And one of the ways to get me out of patrol is if I have line of sight. So remember, I put those in square brackets. I have line of sight, right? If I have line of sight, then I can get out of patrol state. This is this part here. So I'm out of line of sight. If I have line of sight true, then I'm going to be into something else. I'm going to be moving into combat range, right? So I have line of sight. That's what this means. Okay. So from here, now I'm going to move to combat range. That's the next thing I'm going to do, right? There's got to be a next state, right? Even if it's very short, right? So again, I'm just going to use this box for this. Again, I could use other things, but this is the next state. So this is, move to line of sight. Okay, we're going to say that so we can fit it in here. Okay, move to line of sight. Okay, can't go back there. Okay, what else what other state do I have? I have from patrol, I could have my detection radius. That's an option. So let's make another one. Detection radius is going to get me, if I detect radius, I want to move to line of sight. Well, actually, sorry, this is move to close combat. I made a mistake there. Let me undo that change for a second. I want to move that. That's not true. It's actually move to close combat range. That's what that is. Move to close combat range is what I want to do there. That's the actual action, and that's the state. I'm moving towards close combat range. It's going to be hard to fit in, but that's the action. Okay. The other way to get out of patrol, which is another line right from here, is if I have another state. I'm going to put it down here. Okay, and let's just put it somewhere where it's reasonable. And again, we may have to move this around in a second, right? Which is move to line of sight. Okay, so move to line of sight is if I don't have line of sight. So I don't have line of sight, and I'm going to move to line of sight. And I'm going to do that from patrol first. That's an option. Let's start drawing. Again, we can move these around. But I'm just trying to figure out how my state machine would look if I was going to do it. So there's move to line of sight. Okay, if I don't have it. And the trigger for this, and again, notice that there's only a one-way arrow to get here from patrol. There's no way back to go to patrol. Once I've detected the player, so the other thing is in range. Right, here's my range. And we're just going to kind of angle this thing. Oops, make it smaller and angle this up so that's kind of one of these, right? Am I in range? Did I actually, here, let's try this again. I meant radius. Haha. Did the player come into my radius at any one point in time, ever, right? If it ever happened, or if I ever have line of sight, right, as an example, then I'm out of patrol again, and I'm into this part. So move to line of sight. Okay. So those are their states. So patrol state and move to one of these two states. Okay. And if I'm in line of sight, so this is moving towards line of sight. If I can get to line of sight, right, as an example, or if I can move to close combat range, right, I can go from line of sight, moving to line of sight, because I've got line of sight, back to close combat range, because that is going to be the determining factor. How I want to get from here to here. So there is a line that goes from there to there, and it all depends on line of sight again, right? Because this is a factor, right? So let's do that. So we'll make another line as an example. So go back to here, and we'll go from here to here. There's a wave going up to here to move within range, and when I move within range, it's because I have line of sight, right? If I have line of sight, move within range, right? Because this is a thing that I can do, right? It's a condition, it's a transition, a way of transition, and I would use the same transition from move to line of sight or patrol to get into range, right? So this is what I would do. So line of sight, if I have it, then I want to move into range. Now I'm duplicating, but that's okay because this is helping me figure things out in terms of my motion. Okay, so from being in range, right? I'm in range again. Can I move from being in range, you know, to attacking, right? Well, I'm in range. If I'm in range, I should be able to attack. So let's put an attack state. So let's go and put a new attack state in there somewhere, and we can reformat this thing, reconfigure, refactor. We want it to call it that way. So there's another thing. We have another line in here as we start drawing, and we say close combat attack, right? Because we're within range. So close combat attack is an action, and that's an action that it's a state. I'm in, darn it. Sorry, tools. There we go. So that is a state. I'm in an attack state. I'm attacking, and I can get to there if I'm within range. That's the condition that's going to get me there, right? Because I'm going to go from here to here as an example. Close combat attack if I have range. This is a situation. So this is a behavior that I'm making. Am I in range? Then if I am, close combat attack. Okay. I can go from being in close combat attack back to needing to get back in range if my player flees. So there's got to be a line that can take me from here, a transition that can take me from here back to here, right? Which is the same thing. It's if I have range or not. I'm in range, then attack. I'm not in range, go back to getting in range. All right. But what about if I lost line of sight? Is there a way from getting from here to here to get line of sight again? Yeah, if the player pops behind an object, not only do I want to move within range, but I want to move first within line of sight. I can't get within range unless I can see the player. So there should be a way of getting from close combat attack to getting back line of sight. So there's another line of action. I'm just going to draw it with a curved line that goes from here to there, right? And this is if I've lost line of sight somehow. Because remember, I only get here if I've lost line of sight. So this is a transition that I can get to. And let's just draw it with the lines. So this is something else that can happen. I can lose line of sight and I can go back this way. Same thing with moving into range. I've lost line of sight, then I should be able to come back to this. So you can see that this is going to go back and forth over and over again. All right, cool. What about being damaged? Okay, so I'm in close combat attack, right, as an example. That's the only time I can get damage right now. But if I've been damaged somehow, I got to leave. Okay, what does this have to do with any of this? Nothing is the answer. That is another super state, if you will. Either I'm 25% or not. Almost like a hierarchical state machine that we're talking about. This is what I talked about here. Either I'm healthy or I'm not healthy. And I got to check that the first thing I do. So it's almost like I got to draw a box around this entire thing right here. And this is the inner thing. I'm healthy, right? And this is the healthy state, right? Where I'm greater than 25%, okay? Otherwise, I'm not healthy. And if I'm not healthy, then I want to flee, right? So I can draw that kind of as something else that I want to draw out here. So I could draw this thing here that gives me into another state, and I'm going to be in flee state. Let me just draw that box a little closer. There we go. So this is flee state. So this is another way to draw this thing, right? Which is using a state machine as an example, as opposed to not. And the only way that I'm going to get here is if my health, my condition to get me down to flee is my health is less than 25%. That's the thing that's going to trigger me to move out of my this state into here. If my health is less than 25%, it's going to get me into flee state, and I'll never go back. There's only one line to get me there, because that's the way that we've configured it. That's why we've talked about this in your assignment 4, right? So, hey, if there's only one line to get me here, once I'm here, I'm out of here. There's no way back, kind of stuff. So you can see that a state machine can work nice. A state machine can work nice. And the thing is, this patrol is actually kind of like there's a line that comes from outside the state machine that comes in here. So it goes into patrol. We're in healthy state, starting off at healthy state, right? This is the entry state, if you will, right? But there's no transition to get us here. This is where we start, right? And then from here, either we have line of sight or the person's in radius. If not, we keep patrolling. Keep patrolling until line of sight or radius is hit. One of these two hits, then I'm going to do one of these two actions. And I can either lose line of sight in my close combat attack, as an example, or not. Right. The other thing to do is what happens if I kill the player? Well, the game is over. So that's another state that I could say game over. Right. A lose state. Questions around these two options. So this is like state machine. If I'm just drawing this out, so this is like a state machine kind of thing. And this, you can also look at this other one as a hybrid, right? Where you can use kind of a decision tree. For this kind of thing. It's not a balanced tree, but this part is. This part here is a balanced tree, right? Because it's like got the same number of things. This could be like, again, what I would probably do is a state machine, and inside the state machine, either I'm healthy or I'm not healthy. If I'm healthy, then do this decision tree. If I'm, this is how I would do it. If I have line of sight, I keep checking to see if I have line of sight. That's what I would do. If I'm not healthy, then just flee. So this would be outside of the decision tree. So it's almost like I would put this decision tree in a box, similar to what I did with the state machine. It would be like a hierarchical state machine, and inside of this box here, so I'm just going to draw a box. Oops. Maybe I'll just draw it with freehand, like with this, and I'll just say, so inside this thing here is a state of its own, right? And then this thing here is the other state. So this is the healthy state. This is the unhealthy state. And the unhealthy state would have the same situation. It would be a health less than 25, and it would kick me into flee action, and I can never go back. Right? But I would start with patrol, and I'd be in patrol. I would doing the patrol action, and I would keep checking to see if I'm here. Right? Which means that I probably wouldn't have this in here at all. This part right here would be outside, so it'd be kind of balanced because I'm starting here, but I wouldn't go back to patrol, because you can't go back to patrol. There's only one way to get there, and that's where we start. So I probably would say you're in patrol state, or maybe I wouldn't even have this. I'm either in healthy state, I'm patrolling. That's my action by default. My default action is patrolling, and I wouldn't have a way of getting here at all from the tree. Right. So this would probably be something that I would erase, to be honest. So say, okay, there's no way you can patrol, kind of stuff. Let me just take that off. There's no way that you can patrol once you've you started off, as an example, right? Then if I'm in radius, then move to line of sight. If I've detected, this is almost like I've detected you, right? Kind of thing. You fell in my radius somewhere, or I have line of sight. If I don't, then keep doing what I'm doing. Keep staying in my. If you're not in my line of sight, and if you don't have thing, then you know what? Keep doing what you're doing. And this would be like a dead end. And this is how they would draw the tree. They would draw it like this, where you would have this thing that would be like, you would have another line like this, and then you'd have a thing that goes like this. So if not in radius, then I would just keep doing what I'm doing. Keep doing what I'm doing. And then I would come back and check. Do I have line of sight? No. Okay, good. I'm still healthy. If my health kept falling below 25%, that's different. The one thing that's a flaw in this whole plan is that, like I said to you before, is if I get hit. If I get hit, really, it's like Skyrim or Oblivion, which is like, hey, what happened? Who hit me? Someone threw, hit me with an arrow. Oh, they're gone. It doesn't make any sense. And I think this is where you would sit there and go, if I've been hit, I'm going to keep looking for you until I find you, because I know you're here. It's not like you're going to run away, right? So that's kind of the way I would do it. That's kind of the way. But again, I would probably separate it between healthy and not healthy, which is the state machine piece. Healthy state, unhealthy state. Again, other ways to do it. So this is this part. From a behavior tree perspective, that's a different thing. All right. So what I'm trying to do is I'm in patrol state. So if I was going to draw this, let's just make a new one. I'm going to save this one. We'll just call this. I'll put this in my downloads, and we'll just call this decision and state. So I can kind of have this for later if I want to put it up or make it nicer than this. That's for sure. But let's make a new one. So how about for behavior trees? How does that work? Right. Now we have to use different symbols for this, but basically the idea is that if we start, we have a starting state, and that's the patrol state. Right. So the patrol starts at the top. Right. And again, what you could do is you could think about this healthy as unhealthy again. Right. Because of the way we've done it. And if you think about this, it kind of does a single line of action from patrol down into a selector, right? So now I'm saying, okay, I'm going to go to do I have line of sight kind of stuff, and we're going to do a sequence where I'm going to check to see if I have line of sight. If I do have line of sight, then we're going to just do something else. So we can do this sequence. Unfortunately, I can't draw the object as easily here like this. So I'm just going to draw it like yeah, I'm just going to draw it freehand, I guess. So we're just going to do one of these. So this is the first part. Yay, that's pretty cool. What I want to do is I want to say something like this. So from here, my sequence, I'm going to check to see, remember, it's going to report back success from here to patrol. If I'm in patrol state and I'm here, I'm not going to go back to patrol state again, right? So now I'm going to check to see, do I have line of sight? The first thing I'm going to check is, do I have line of sight? So this would be line of sight check, right? If I have line of sight, then I report true, right? This is the thing that goes back. So I report success. If I have line of sight, then the next thing I want to check to see is, am I within close combat range? Again, very similar to what we've done earlier in our earlier work, right? So I'll kind of come down like this and I'll say close combat range. Let's call it range, just so that way it saves some room. So this is the next step. And if I've got range, I go to the next part. By the way, it'll fail if I've got line of sight but no range, right? So, So this might not be the way it would work, right? Because when I go into a sequence, then I keep checking, and if it fails, I keep patrolling. So this is not really the way it would work, right? We have to rejig this again. So I'll go back to here, and I'm in range. Yes, true. Then I want to check to see if I can attack. So I attack. That's the next part. I'm in range, then I attack. So, and that's the next part of the sequence, attack. So this is a different kind of tree than the decision tree. This is the behavior tree is like literally, there's a couple things we can do. So this attack. Okay, line of sight, cool, yes. But range, yes, cool, and whatever. So this is one option. The other one is, and this could be a selector node instead of patrol, right? So the selector node, let's just erase this for a second. So maybe there's going to be a sequence, another sequence. This is one sequence. For line of sight, I need to get in range, attack, right? Otherwise, it'll come back to the sequence, the selector, all right? This is the sequence. This, let's say, will be a selector node, okay? And the selector node would be a line to another sequence. So I would have a line from this to another sequence. And let's make it so that it's black, please. So something that looks like this. This is the wrong symbols, but bear with me because it is what it is, right? I'm drawing impaired. All right, so cool. So this is the next sequence. And the next sequence would be the am I within detection radius? So am I in radius? Right? And then the next sequence would be if I am in radius, and I would draw a line. And again, I would make this nicer if I plan this better. If I have radius, but I don't have line of sight, because these are mutually exclusive, right? And this the way I've drawn it anyway. If I'm in radius, then next thing is move to line of sight. So that's the next thing I would want to do. Move to line of sight. Move to line of sight, right? And can I do it? Can I move to line of sight? That's the question that I would have. Because remember, it's all questions. You know, and this would also be, can I attack? Because I could fail. If I can't attack because somehow I've lost being in range, then I would fail. And it would come back to my selector node again, right? And I would keep going through this entire thing over and over again, this loop. So start off here, and I would go here. If can I get line of sight or not, right? So, you know, or if this either one or the other, which one can I do? If I have line of sight, do I still have line of sight? Yes. Cool. Am I in range? Yes. Then attack. Okay. And then this one would be, okay, I don't have line of sight, but did I detect him? Yes. I'm still detecting him. He was in my range at one point. Yes. Cool. Then move to line of sight. Move to line of sight. Do I have line of sight? Yes. Range, attack. Keep doing that over and over again, right? And then of course the health thing would be another you know, kind of box. I would put this again. I most likely would put this whole thing in a box, and I would say this would be one state, the healthy state, and I think that's just the right way to do it. And then there would be a line that would basically say, okay, I've lost health, now flee, and that would be the flee action, which would be down here. So again, I probably would do a state. It's kind of a outer state and inner state kind of stuff the entire time. So this would be like flee, because flee has nothing to do with the other states. Flee, I jump into flee state because of the way I've jigged this up, right? And of course this would start off, I would start in patrol, but then I would keep patrolling until I had either line of sight, or once I got I detected. This would be like, so the player's been detected somehow, right? If the player's been detected, then I'm going to go into this state right here, and I'm going to go into this sequence, the selector node in my behavior tree, right, directly. So I'm probably going to do something like this. And again, you can use any of these tools or all of these tools, mix and match as you see fit, right? But this is what I kind of say. So if the player's been detected, then okay, now do I still have line of sight? No. Failure. Okay. He was in my radius. Is he still in my radius? No. Okay. Well, then go back here. Keep patrolling. Keep moving around until I can find him. Move to line of sight. See if I can see him. Right, kind of thing. And then over and over again. So that's kind of the way you could do it in a behavior tree. But remember, we leave patrol state as soon as the player's been detected. That is definitely something. That's a trigger that's going to trigger me to move out of patrol state no matter what happens. All right, so really high level kind of work in terms of how I would program my behavior, right? And remember that I'm going to create structures for this. So one of the things that I'm going to do, if I'm going to go with the first map, let me just save this one. So file, save as, let's call this behavior tree, a bad behavior tree, right? And we'll save this here as well. If I go back to the previous thing I had, so open resense, let's go back to that decision state thing again that I had here before, right? I'm more inclined to do it in one of these if it was me, I think. And specifically, one of these two ways of doing it. Now there's a nice purity in doing it from a state machine perspective, because I can never go back to patrol. There is no connection for me to get back to patrol mode ever. As soon as I've been detected, because that's what this is. If I've had line of sight at one point, or if the person, my player, was in detection radius, I'm never going to go back, right? There's no way I'm going to go back to, patrol mode again, right? And then I'm going to be in this mode. I'm going to be in this kind of situation where, hey, do I have line of sight, or Are they in range? Kind of stuff. And I'm going to keep going back and forth here over and over again. One thing that I can also do is, as an example, he's in my radius. That's another thing that is constantly happening. I'm in radius, then I want to move to line of sight, so I can see them, right? If they're in my radius. But what if they're not in my radius? Well, as long as they're in my radius once, is what I said, then you want to move to line of sight. So I'm actually either going to move from line of sight, move to line of sight, to move to close combat range, to attack, or back. I'm never going to not know that they're in there. So this is where this kind of structure becomes a refactoring for me, where I only really have 3 states. After I go out of patrol state, I'm only going to move ever into these 3 states. Move to line of sight, move to combat range, attack. Move to line of sight, move to combat range, attack. And back and forth in one of these combinations. Okay. Move to line of sight and attack, is that possible from here to there? Can I attack from line of sight? It depends, but I have to go through, I have to check to see if I'm in combat range before I can attack. So there is no direct line to go to attack. First I got to check to see if I'm in range. All right, so I must go through this line in order for me to attack. Okay, but I can go from attack to I've lost line of sight. I can lose line of sight, and I can be out of range. So these 2 things, I can move from here to here, from here to here. So again, I could draw this, I can refactor this drawing and draw it different. All right, and the same thing goes with here. I would have to think about how to do this, but either way, I would create my structure for my state machine. I might do a hard-coded state machine in this case, because this guy, this enemy is never going to have the flexibility to do anything else. Okay, and the decision tree, I would create a decision tree structure where I go to the top of the decision tree and I would say, okay, so the first thing in the decision tree is, do I have line of sight? First question I'm always going to ask, do I have line of sight? Yes or no? Yes. Am I in close combat range? That's the next thing in my decision tree. Yes or no? Yes. Attack. Okay, cool. I keep attacking. If I somehow I can't attack anymore, or my attack action fails, like I miss, as an example, I don't do damage, then I check to see if I have line of sight again. Do I still have line of sight? Yes. Move to close combat range. Attack. Right? However, if I don't have line of sight, then okay, is my character are they in the radius? I've detected them, right? Well, move to line of sight. In fact, this check radius is really irrelevant, right? It's actually a way to get me into this decision tree thing, right? Another way. This could be refactored because I'm just going to keep moving to line of sight the entire time. Radius is a way of just saying player's been detected, like I did in the other drawing. Did I detect the player? Yes or no? If I detected them through radius or line of sight one time, then I'm always going to keep on doing these 3 actions: being in range, moving to range, or attacking. One of the 3. Right? So that's the skinny of it. I think it's not so bad, and you can think about how you would do things differently for the next one, right? So if you looked at the range combat enemy, right? If you're thinking about this one, how would I draw this one out? Well, I'm starting off my patrol action, and then, okay, the player is either in my detection radius and I don't have line of sight. This is the exact same thing from move to line of sight. So these are all the same. Where it starts getting different is this part. And if my range combat enemy has line of sight, then move to range action. So this is where I want to kind of maintain my position away from the player. I want to kind of keep separation, but also cohesion, right? That's what this is. I can use cohesion, separation, steering behaviors, so I can move into a spot where I can keep a distance from my player so I can fire my weapon. So this is another kind of state. I want to move to my range. Am I within range? Am I in the right range? Well, cool, then make a range attack, right? And this is the attack that I want to do every single time, right? Okay, but what about if I get hit? Now this is something else, right? I might never get hit. I can keep doing this and never get hit, potentially, right? If I get hit once, it triggers me to go into another state. Now this speaks to me of a hierarchical state machine where I have some other states. One, am I healthy or not healthy? That is something that's happening. If I'm not healthy, I'm out of there. I'm going to flee. That is the same thing. The big box followed by the small boxes, right? The small box on the outside of the big box saying, flee, am I healthy or not healthy? If I'm healthy, do all the other stuff that I want to do. Okay, next. Am I healthy, but did I get hit? All right? I'm healthy, but inside there, I got hit. Another hierarchy, right? If I got hit, do some other kind of actions. Here, I'm into another, sub-action because I got hit, right? So now I'm going to do another, an embedded kind of action or sequence that I can do in here. I got hit. Well, if I got hit, guess what? I want to, move behind cover. Okay, did I succeed in moving behind cover? Yes. Cool. Wait behind cover. Cool. When I'm done waiting behind cover, move back out of cover, and guess what I'm going to do? Move to line of sight. I'm back out here again. I'm back out to move to line of sight again, which is over here. Because the player was in my detection radius at one point because I had line of sight. It's either an on or off condition, right? Either they're in my detection radius or they're not. But if I was ever in the detection radius, then that should be something that I've triggered and is always true. I've detected the player. If I've detected the player, then I'm moving to line of sight every single time, or I'm range detect. I'm going to do the range attack. This guy is not going to do a melee attack, which means he's going to always try to go, this or she is going to try and move out of a melee range into, kind of separating from the player enough that they can do a ranged attack. That is their goal. So let's think about this now. We just talked about some goals, and we talked about goal-oriented behavior. So another way to think about this is, what is the true goal of the close combat enemy? Well, the true goal of the close combat enemy, my friends, is this, right? Close combat attack. That's what they want to do. That's the goal, right? I want to do this all the time. I want to keep attacking, attack until the player's dead. All right? That's the goal of the close combat enemy. The goal is not to flee. That is a failure. All right? This is not good. Which means this insistence is high. I got a high insistence. And I'm very discontent. If I talk about discontentment, my discontentment is high if I'm not attacking. Okay? And the other thing that would be, if I was going to go in the hierarchy of things that I want, right? Moving to range, right, as an action, right? If I'm moving to close combat range, I already have the line of sight, which means this would be number 2, right, in terms of where I want to be. I either want to be here or here. Either I'm moving to range to attack or I'm attacking, because it means I have line of sight. I'm in this branch. In this branch here, right, I have line of sight in here. I have line of sight no matter what I want to do, right? So either I'm attacking or moving to attack. One of the two. Okay? This is great. So this would be like, if I was going to, on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is high insistence, this would be like a 10. I want, to kind of move, I want this action, the highest, right? Maybe from a weighting perspective, this would be a 9. I want to be in range. I want to move to range as another thing. Move to line of sight might be an 8, right, in terms of priority. I want to move to line of sight, but it's better to be, it'd be better for me from a utility perspective. Think about utility now again. My utility would be highest here. I want to attack, right, somehow. But it would go in this range, 8, 9, 10, right? And then getting line of sight, either I have line of sight, as an example, I want to get line of sight. So either I'm getting line of sight, and if I only have these 3 states that I'm going to keep swinging between, so I'm either swinging between moving to line of sight, being in range, or attacking, then I can really break this down into like 1, 2, 3, right? So 3 is high, 2 is in the middle, and 1, well, I'd like not to do this because that means I've lost line of sight, but I'm going to do one of these 3 actions every single time. I'm going to keep swinging back and forth between these 3 states, right? Where I don't want to be is this. This would be like a 0. This would be, I do not want this to happen. This is bad. I would not want to be unhealthy, right? So staying healthy is important as well. So that's why I'd want to flee, right? I don't want to die, so this would be, it would take precedence. It would kick me out of this. I would not be able to do this action at all. And suddenly this would be a 10. And this whole thing would be a 0. I would not want to do this. From a utility perspective, this whole tree would be a 0, because this is the most important action if I went below 25% health. I want to get away, right? So again, that's when, you know, what we're talking about is, you know, how to separate these two types of loadouts. And again, I would try what I'm doing right now, which is to draw out either my behavior tree, my decision tree, or my state machine, or a combination of, figure out what I'm going to do from as a plan first, and once I've planned to do something, then I code. It's easy to code when I know what I want. It's hard to code when I have no idea where I'm headed, right? So that's what I would do. Any questions around, or any suggestions in terms of how you're planning on doing something, how you plan to tackle this assignment number 4? All right. So I'm not seeing any kind of feedback, but again, I think that there's one of those cases that you would kind of run into. One of these 3 cases, you would use one tool or the other, or mix a combination. Again, my thoughts are, you know, just from an ease of use, state machine. State machine is harder to code, but you know what? Look, I've refactored it. I'm going to move into one of these 3 states every single time. As soon as I've been detected, I'm going to move into one of these 3 states. I'm going to keep in these states, and then if somehow I get hurt, I'm fleeing, which is like kind of an outer state, right? And that's how it would be. I'm in flee state. I would be in flee state, and I would do a flee action the entire time until I'm done, right? Or until I died. If I died, bad, right? But decision tree is not bad too. Decision tree is not difficult to code, and it's just the structure that you'd have to create at the beginning. Once you create the tree structure, you can replicate that for the other loadout as well. Okay, guys, I've beaten this one to death. If there's no other questions, that's all I have for today. There is no exercise, lab, or quiz for today. It was really around me getting together with you guys and you know, kind of looking at your assignment 3s, your bases for assignment 4. I want to make sure that you guys are good for assignment 4. And the guys that I saw earlier in the kind of the team members that I saw earlier today at the 12 o'clock lab, there was some really great ones that you know, kind of good bases for moving forward into assignment 4, and nicely we had one that was pretty good here in the second half as well, so that you know we have some good, you know, foundations for getting into assignment 4, which I'm happy to see. There are some people who are struggling with and didn't get the requirements done for assignment 3. Even if you lose marks, guys, you must have all the requirements in order for you to do assignment 4, all right, or else you won't get marked on it. If you don't have the basis for assignment 3 and you present assignment 4, your marks are going to be 0 for assignment 4. Please don't do that. That's how we set this up. So you have to get all those, you know, you have to demonstrate that you know how to do all these things. Okay, so please make sure you have assignment 3 before you start assignment 4. Okay, that's it for me. I'm going to stop recording this now, and I will see you next week. Next week, again, will be the last lecture before the exam.